Hey everyone, it's Will, GamerDad, with another video for you. So in today's video, we're going to be reviewing 5-star Mana and her moves, as well as her skills. Now you do get her as a free reward as a 5-star 16 Light after completing IDA Part 3.
Is she hot or not?
Well, she's a 46-year-old in a 16-year-old body, so not really sure what to make of it actually. She is a bow user, and the unique thing is that most of her abilities and skills are actually not offensive. She does have a small AoE, which I'll cover in her moves, but otherwise I would use her more as a support, and as a poor man's Yuna. So you can see her Valor Chant's only at level 2, and you can get level 3 after finishing the Lord of Mana game completely. So the MP consumption reduction for one turn is not bad at all. Now her first set of moves is more of a defensive physical wall. So very similar to Annabelle's shield, but instead of, and it also has the regen as well. Now the Monstro is the small AoE piercing that also restores all party members for 10 MP, including herself. So her actual casting cost would be 15. But the most important moves are these last 4. So you can see I'm going with Mephistophelies first, which is basically power down while intelligence up. And the opposite of that is the Queen of Hearts, which is intelligence down and power up. And the reason for that is that if you make a team of, like for example, all physical and her, or all mages and her, then you would boost the intelligence of your team, for example, with mages, while fighting someone who's primarily has physical attacks, because you're bringing down the power of everyone else. So, and finally, the Midnight Cendrillon is very similar to Arena's move in that it removes all buffs and debuffs, but adds a type resistance debuff of 25%. So a much more powerful version of Arena's as well. Now, you might recall in previous videos that some boss strategies do require Arena to remove boss statuses, especially things like, in the Whale, where it boosts itself, or Mimi, for example. So this mana will actually come in great use for a lot of different boss fights. Now I just brought up her board, and you can see her 5-star moves as well as her IDA school personality and bow user. Her best weapon, in my opinion, is the Lollipopper, and the reason for that is, as a support, you really want her to last longer, so the increased physical defense and HP boost is very nice. So let's take her out and show you some of her offensive attacks. Now you can see that at level 70 she's not fully powered up yet. Her attack power is not really strong, and most full users, to be fair, aren't extremely powerful in terms of their attacks. And as a small AoE, the damage isn't even enough to clear, these level 38 mobs or so. Now, if they're vulnerable to Pierce, of course, then she'll do a little bit more damage. But still, I'll just do one more battle right here. And so it can kill those really flying enemies that are weak to Pierce. But otherwise, it takes a couple of hits. And also, her moves are all non-type as well, so you don't get any benefit of elemental weaknesses if you do use her against enemies. Now, like I said, where she really shines is against bosses. So we're going to take this party in against Mighty's Manifest Weapon at level 10. And so this is a rematch. Now, I know that a lot of you from comments on my channel, this battle was extremely hard just because Mighty keeps on boosting his own intelligence, and at times he will debuff your water resistance and then wipe you out with one large AoE. So you can see I'm starting with mana, and my front 3 are all physical based. So we're going to use the power up while int down. And again, it doesn't affect our team much, but it really affects Mighty. At this stage of the game, he's only self-boosted his int once, so it's not too deadly yet. It's much in the later turns, like turn 6 or 7, where he can stack quite a bit and do quite a bit of damage. And in conjunction with, for example, Aurora Force, you can really protect your team against Mighty's most powerful moves. Now keep in mind the debuffs do last only 3 turns, so you do have to rotate mana back in. If you are using the Queen of Hearts, where you are debuffing the int and increasing power, keep in mind that if you do leave Mario out there, it also reduces her healing capacity. So that might not be that big of a deal, but it's still significant. She can still heal about 1,000, but you know, instead of healing 2,000 may make a difference in some battles. Now this is usually the turn where he's warned you, he's put water debuff on your team, and if you don't do any int debuffs and things like that, you will die. In this case, I not only applied an int debuff of 35% with the Queen of Hearts, I also had Aurora Force up, which is a 50% shielding. And keep in mind that the Queen of Hearts does not affect the effectiveness of things like shielding or buffs or debuffs. So that's very, very nice. Also, you do have the flexibility though, if he happens to boost a bunch of times on his int, you can just remove it with Mistopheles. And, no, I mean Midnight, Centrillion or whatever the move is called. Sorry about that. And then the main thing is that in this case, you keep on stacking damage on until such time that you have a full AF bar, and depending on your team makeup and how much damage you can do with an AF, you can unleash one large AF. Now, one of the downsides of using the remove all buffs and debuffs is that in the case of stacking Nidaria Edge with the Earth debuff stacked from AS Nagi, that will be removed if you do use that. In this case, I'm just using Queen of Hearts, and it is enough to at least survive. But you can also see that some of my characters are at risk of dying. So I will say that this wasn't the most efficient rotation. It was just me trying out Mana for the first time and kind of trying to demonstrate at least some of her abilities and some of her advantages and disadvantages. So if you do use her well, I would say that she is a very effective member of the team. A little bit less flexible than Yuna, but still very, very effective. Also, just a reminder, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. I also do have a Patreon account for those who are interested in supporting me this way. Now, in this case, I did bring in Mario to start the AF, and I started the AF with a Refresh Sleep. And the reason for that is that Mighty, unfortunately, with his sleep attack from Nightmare Gift, you need to cast Refresh Sleep to unlock and wake up AS Nagi, and then I was able to do enough damage. Now, I do realize that my Earth team is pretty powerful, but even if you bring a lesser Earth team and you figure out the rotation, mana would help you survive quite a bit. Also, in cases of other Manifest battles, especially like Xion, where his single targets really wreak havoc, using an all-mage team, for example, with mana may actually help you defeat him more easily. Or, as I said, you can rotate everyone to the back and just cast it by herself, and then rotate everyone back in. All in all, hey, having a free 5-star is great. If only they come out with a dungeon to help boost her light. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.